driving me nuts.
You think it's just going to happen overnight one day, or does there need to be a little like what do we need? A little players only meeting, players only practice, or like, or you just need to get your ass kicked and like really have a wake up game. Like, what in your time playing in the W or even college, what really turns the tide to you? And like,
listen carefully, because that sound you're hearing is unmistakably the voice of a professional athlete who has finally reached her limit. Sophie Cunningham has just unleashed a shocking statement that's sending waves across the basketball world. It's the kind of brutally honest and completely unfiltered truth that most longtime WNBA veterans would never dare to reveal in front of the cameras, making this one of the most explosive and unexpected moments fans have witnessed in quite some time.
And for those just listening, Sophie has the highest three-point percentage in the WNBA since joining the Fever. That's pretty electric. Okay, Steph.
So I was right. She got the highest three-point percentage in the WNBA. And you mean to tell me she's not an all-star? It's like Steph Curry not being an all-star, bro. Let's just all, Klay Thompson was an all-star. Let's just all be for real. If this thing based off the number.
She's talking about a situation where the team desperately needs a serious reality check and an honest, face-to-face conversation to get everyone back on the same page. Sophie Cunningham openly acknowledged that regardless of how talented the roster looks on paper, they simply haven't been performing at the level they're capable of. Instead of making excuses or trying to soften the criticism, she admitted the truth without holding anything back, delivering a message that many fans never expected to hear from a veteran player.
And getting teed up.
I like that.
Well, I got
That's
a
a
stat
good.
for you. Oh, do we say Soph's already 15th in All-Star voting?
Oh, let's go. I voted this morning because the Fever tweeted the meme also, and it was like All-Star voting. Again, Fever with a classy post.
Yes.
Using the meme and linking All-Star voting. So I hopped on.
Yeah. But I think like AB, Caitlin, and Kels are all up there. That's great. That's great. They should be. And we're not even like playing good basketball yet, which blows me.
Right.
Just take a moment to appreciate how incredible this situation really is. The Indiana Fever have built a roster featuring not one, not two, but three players leading the WNBA All-Star fan voting, giving them one of the league's most star-studded lineups. Even with that impressive collection of talent, the team's most reliable and dangerous three-point shooter still hasn't been able to help the offense reach its full potential, leaving many fans wondering why the results on the court haven't matched the expectations.
Kidding. Sometimes you just have to get away from basketball because we invalid. This is our job, so I'm not complaining, but we practice a lot and our practices are a little long and sometimes you just need to get away from it. And so maybe we should try both, a team bonding and then balance.
So could you maybe be a captain in this situation and like organize something fun in Indianapolis? Like maybe a big dinner reservation in the downstairs of St. Elmo's Steakhouse.
Dude, I think
fun.
We're about to go on like a 14-day road trip to the West Coast, and I think we're going to do...
The league's deadliest shooter, who has been a game-changing presence from the moment she arrived, is now practically staring into the camera and admitting that this team urgently needs a complete reset before things spiral even further. It raises the biggest question every fan is asking at this very moment. What is actually happening behind the scenes inside that locker room? What problems are unfolding away from the spotlight that have pushed one of the team's biggest stars to speak out so openly?
Sometimes we won, majority of times we didn't, but like it was just like a little kumbaya before playoffs started, and it was so fun. So shit, I'll try anything.
Before we go any further, let's lay out the facts because understanding the full picture is essential. Since arriving in Indiana, Sophie Cunningham has posted the best three-point shooting percentage in the entire WNBA. And to make this crystal clear, we're not talking about someone ranked among the top 5 or even the top 10. We're talking about the league's most efficient three-point shooter, a player who has consistently outperformed everyone else from beyond the arc while wearing a Fever jersey.
If the fans could vote for who they wanted to be all-stars on the team, Sophie Cunningham will be on that list.
Yeah, but I think I've been kind of not shooting the ball so well so far this year, but I think I'm starting to heat up a little bit.
You probably have the highest three-point percentage out of anyone who wears long sleeves, W and NBA.
I like that.
That should be, you should get a plaque for that or like a trophy.
There's a stat for everything nowadays. We could find something I'm good at.
Her shooting has been so extraordinary that major podcast hosts have even started comparing her to Steph Curry because of the incredible efficiency she brings from beyond the arc. Even so, she found herself sitting all the way down at 15th in the All-Star voting. At the same time, she has continued putting in the effort away from the court by attending autograph sessions, building genuine relationships with fans, and doing everything you would expect from a leader trying to strengthen a franchise's culture. But the moment that truly stood out came during that viral podcast interview. The way she described the team's current situation carried a level of frustration that was impossible to ignore. It wasn't the kind of disappointment you can easily brush aside. It sounded like someone genuinely searching for answers. Then the host asked her a straightforward question about what it really takes to pull a team out of a difficult stretch. Instead of giving the usual media-friendly response about working harder, staying positive, or trusting the process, Sophie immediately shifted the conversation toward team bonding and the need for a serious heart-to-heart meeting. In the sports world, that kind of language sends a powerful message. When a respected veteran says a team needs a reality check, it often suggests there are deeper problems that practices and film sessions alone cannot solve. She appeared to be pointing toward issues with chemistry, communication, and relationships inside the locker room that may be affecting the team's performance on the floor. Then she became even more specific by talking about the upcoming 14-day road trip through cities like Las Vegas, Louisiana, and Phoenix. She mentioned that the team had planned activities to spend more time together, but the way she delivered those comments made it clear there was much more behind her words than a simple travel itinerary, leaving fans wondering just how serious the situation might really be. She explained that she believes the trip could be beneficial for the team, but she didn't sound overly enthusiastic or convinced it would suddenly solve everything. Instead, her response carried a sense of cautious optimism, as if she was simply hoping that spending more time together might finally make a difference. That kind of hesitation often comes from someone searching for any possible solution when the deeper issues seem far more complicated. Then came what many considered the most revealing moment of the entire interview. Sophie admitted, "At this point, I'll try anything with this team." Take a moment to think about the weight behind those words. This is a veteran who has experienced championship pursuits, high-pressure playoff battles, and different locker room environments throughout her career. For a player with that level of experience to openly say she's willing to try anything speaks volumes. Those aren't the words of a team that only needs a few tactical adjustments. They reflect genuine frustration after seeing the usual solutions fail to produce results. It sounds like someone who is completely open to any approach that could finally help unlock the group's potential. That naturally raises an even bigger question. What is actually causing this disconnect? Because one thing is clear, the Indiana Fever certainly aren't lacking talent. With stars like Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, and Kelsey Mitchell all receiving tremendous support in the All-Star voting, plus Sophie Cunningham knocking down three-pointers at an elite level, the roster appears loaded with everything needed to compete at the highest level. On paper, every piece seems to fit perfectly, yet Sophie openly admitted that the team still isn't playing the kind of basketball they know they're capable of, something she herself finds difficult to understand. That confusion is perhaps the biggest clue of all. When a seasoned veteran can't explain why such a talented group continues to struggle, it suggests the challenges extend well beyond strategy, talent, or play design, pointing instead toward deeper issues that no simple adjustment on the court can easily fix. It feels like the real issue runs much deeper than anything fans can see during games. But there's another detail that deserves just as much attention, what Sophie chose not to mention. In professional sports, what players leave unsaid can sometimes reveal just as much as their actual comments. When she was asked how the team could turn things around, she never focused on coaching decisions, offensive adjustments, defensive strategies, or tactical changes. Instead, she immediately shifted the conversation toward relationships inside the locker room, emphasizing stronger communication, team bonding, honest conversations, and players spending more time together away from the spotlight. Every solution she suggested centered on the people within the team rather than the coaching staff, and that stands out. At the same time, head coach Stephanie White has publicly maintained that team chemistry isn't a major concern. Yet Sophie, one of the team's most experienced veterans, openly suggested that the group needs deeper conversations and stronger unity. Those two viewpoints naturally invite questions because they paint very different pictures of what's happening behind the scenes. It could simply mean the coaching staff and players have different perspectives, or it may reflect an effort to keep internal matters private while the team works through them. Either way, it has fueled plenty of discussion among fans. One popular content creator even suggested the possibility of locker room tension and speculated about specific players, including Kelsey Mitchell. However, without clear evidence, it would be unfair to place the blame on any individual. Still, some of the observations are worth considering. Mitchell is averaging relatively few assists for a guard who handles the ball so frequently, leading some analysts to question whether the offense is maximizing the talents of players like Caitlin Clark. That may be one piece of the puzzle, but it's equally possible that the struggles are the result of broader team dynamics rather than the actions of a single player. One possible explanation is that this entire roster may have been put together with multiple high-usage stars who all require the ball in their hands to perform at their best. When that happens, it can become difficult for anyone to willingly take a step back or sacrifice personal production for the benefit of the collective, and that naturally creates chemistry issues, though not necessarily in a toxic or malicious sense. Instead, it could point to a deeper structural problem, where roles, hierarchy, and leadership on the court are not clearly defined. Who takes control in crunch time? Who defers when possessions matter most? When those questions don't have clear answers, tension can quietly build and affect performance just as much as any single personality conflict. That's why Sophie's comments about needing time away from basketball and feeling like practices are dragging are so important. Long practices are normal at the professional level, but when a player brings it up unprompted, it can signal something deeper. It may suggest that the environment feels heavier when there's unresolved tension, or that the effort being put in isn't translating into results, making every drill feel more draining than productive. It could even reflect the mental fatigue of constantly operating in a high-pressure setting where chemistry hasn't fully clicked. Her story about the Las Vegas trip adds even more context. She recalls how her previous Phoenix team used to have long, late-night bonding dinners before big games, prioritizing connection over routine structure. Even if those games didn't always end in wins, the purpose was unity and trust. When she then says she's willing to try anything now, it suggests she may see a lack of that same looseness and connection in the current environment. Altogether, it paints a picture of a locker room that may feel overly rigid, tightly wound, and missing the kind of natural chemistry that allows teams to play freely and confidently. There's no real emotional outlet for these players, and that pressure just keeps stacking higher and higher. To understand how damaging that can be, you only need to look at the most dominant teams in the WNBA right now. The Las Vegas Aces consistently emphasize their chemistry, their off-court bond, and how much they genuinely enjoy being around each other every day. The New York Liberty have taken a similar approach, intentionally building a culture centered on trust, relationships, and complete roster commitment. The reality is that championship-caliber teams aren't just built on talent alone. They thrive on deep emotional connection and unity. Right now, though, the Indiana Fever appear to be lacking that same level of cohesion, despite having multiple all-star level players on the roster. Even Sophie's brief mention of Raven Johnson adds another layer to the discussion, especially since many fans initially assumed there might be internal friction there, yet on-court chemistry suggests otherwise. That effectively shuts down one of the more popular fan theories. So when you break it all down, you're left with uncomfortable possibilities. Either it's a specific player dynamic issue, a leadership imbalance, or in the worst-case scenario, a fragmented locker room with divided groups forming within the team itself. And what makes this even more interesting is the all-star voting situation. Sophie sitting at 15th despite leading the league in three-point efficiency since joining Indiana feels statistically shocking. Yet what stands out even more is that she doesn't express frustration about it at all. She almost brushes it off with a casual laugh, which is often the sign of a veteran who understands just how unpredictable the sports world can be when it comes to recognition and attention. But at the same time, that reaction could also hint at something deeper, simmering beneath the surface of the locker room. Because if a player like Sophie feels undervalued by the organization or overlooked by fans despite delivering elite-level production, it can quietly create frustration. Not necessarily from her directly, but potentially from other role players who relate to that same sense of being underappreciated. When you step back and connect everything, a clearer picture starts to form. The Indiana Fever are not just dealing with a simple talent issue, but what appears to be a more complicated chemistry challenge. They have an elite shooter performing at a top-tier level who still feels the need to publicly call for major team intervention. At the same time, the head coach insists everything is fine, while players are openly suggesting that the team needs serious bonding and internal conversations just to get back on track. Add to that 3 all-star caliber stars on the roster, yet inconsistent and disconnected team basketball, and the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. Now, with a demanding 14-day road trip ahead through cities like Las Vegas, Louisiana, and Phoenix, the stakes feel even higher. These environments can either strengthen a team through shared experiences or expose existing cracks even further. Sophie has mentioned planned team activities, which suggests the coaching staff is at least aware of the need to improve chemistry, but forced bonding rarely solves deeper issues on its own. You can't simply manufacture trust through scheduled fun when underlying tension exists. That's why the upcoming stretch becomes so critical. If the trip fails to bring the group closer together, the Fever could return in an even more fragile state, with time quickly running out to fix the underlying problems before the season slips further out of control. In reality, the WNBA doesn't allow teams the luxury of completely rebuilding midseason, especially when a generational talent like Caitlin Clark's rookie year window is right in front of them as a rare opportunity to create something special. That puts enormous pressure on the organization to solve this puzzle quickly and correctly. When looking at the situation, Sophie Cunningham comes across as someone experienced enough to know when speaking out is necessary and when silence is the better option, which makes her decision to address things so openly on a public podcast feel significant. She avoids naming individuals or directly blaming teammates, but her message still strongly suggests that serious internal issues exist and must be dealt with urgently. At the same time, taking that kind of public stance carries real professional risk, especially if the locker room is already fragile, because it can easily intensify existing tensions rather than resolve them. However, it may also be a deliberate move to force attention onto problems that haven't been solved internally. The comparison to Steph Curry highlights another layer. Just like Curry was once undervalued despite elite production before earning recognition in a stable system, Sophie is also producing at a high level without receiving equivalent external acknowledgement. The difference is that Curry was supported by a patient, structured organization, while Sophie appears to be in a far more unstable environment, with internal issues undermining performance. As a result, the Fever find themselves in a difficult position. A respected veteran openly calling for deeper intervention, a coaching staff publicly insisting things are fine, and multiple star players failing to function cohesively despite strong individual talent. With a demanding road trip approaching, the team is facing a critical moment that could either bring them closer together or expose their issues even further. And given how deep the underlying problems seem, it may take far more than temporary bonding to truly fix what's happening.